Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dreamleapers. I'm your host, Harriette Cole, and do I have a special guest for you? Our guest today is someone I've known for more than 30 years. She is a force in the entertainment, media, and fashion industries. And over the years, I've had the pleasure of seeing her grow, evolve, and pivot countless times, which is what makes her career so fascinating. Her motto, "It gets greater later," has given her and many, many others the confidence to do more and to try new things, no matter where they are in their life. Bevy once thought her career in fashion advertising was her end all be all. But with her motto in mind, she is now an award winning radio and TV personality, dynamic host of Bevelations on Sirius XM, accomplished author, TED speaker, creative consultant, and actress. You may have seen her as Aunt Tammy in the hit Prime series Harlem. Bevy Smith is an undeniable talent. She has graced the pages of fashion magazines, commanded red carpets, and mentored countless creatives. And today, she is here to share some of her wisdom with us and tell us what comes next on her ever-evolving journey. So please join me in welcoming Bevy Smith. Bevy, how are you, dear?
I'm so good, and I'm so happy to be here with you, Harriette Cole. You know, I absolutely adore you. I love your show, and so it's quite an honor to be on Dreamleapers.
Well, thank you, and you know I adore you, and this is like a long time. This is for real, real.
Yes, this is a long time.
It's a
in
long
the fashion trenches.
Yes, in the fashion trenches. But you know, right now, Bevy, is a time of transition for a lot of people, of uncertainty, of fear. You know, a lot of people are really nervous. What in the world is coming next?
Yeah.
And for people like you and me, you know, we've been in this, like, pivots happen. The waves are there, the ups and downs are there. Of course, everybody has fear sometimes. I mean, that's a natural thing.
Mhm.
But what has it been for you that has sustained you to have joy?
Well, one is my unshakable faith, right?
Mhm.
God has shown me time and time again that He has me. I've never fallen, Harriette Cole, knock wood. I've never fallen. And so that gives me the spirit, the energy, the faith to know that through God, all things are possible. And that even if things go to the left, it will surely right itself. Because one of the things I said when I was broke from the age of 40 to 45, which is a very tough time to be broke.
Yes.
I used to always tell myself, trouble don't last always. And that is something that I would keep in my spirit, along with my mantra of "it gets greater later." Those two things really sustained me and allowed me to keep going. So now in these times where there's a lot of uncertainty, but what I want to say to your listeners, especially to your Black listeners, is that we have been through far worse and done so much. You know, when you think about what happened to us during the Reconstruction era, when we were, you know, given our freedom allegedly, but given nothing to, you know, no tools in which to create a free life. And yet we still built towns and universities and had businesses and had these thriving lives and community. And so that's also something I would say to your listeners: cleave to community. Because right now, we're in this space where a lot of people believe that social media is a connecting tool, and it is in a way, but there's nothing beats IRL. Nothing beats in real life. So that is something that I'm really focused on.
You know, it's interesting you say that. I heard Angela Davis speak recently. I went to see her speak, and it was absolutely amazing. I hadn't seen her speak in a long time. And she talked about the importance of individuality and the danger of individualism.
Yes.
Which, I mean, I keep telling folks, because this is, of course, it's important for us to embrace our uniqueness and to celebrate that and to honor that. But we must have community. And Bevy, we know, especially for women and Black women, let's say in the corporate realm, in that working space, even in 2025, there are still people who are the only.
Yeah.
There's still people where there's nobody other than them, nobody who looks like them other than them in a space. And it makes people think, well, I've got to keep this all for myself because otherwise I'm going to be knocked down like a bowling pin. And Angela's point was, that's the wrong attitude, the wrong way of thinking. If we have community and we support each other and welcome each other in, then what happens?
Yeah. Yeah. Then we're much stronger, right? Together, we can build so many amazing things. We've done it in the past. So I feel like we need to look to the past to really see where we need to be going in the future. The first day of Black History Month, I was at the Blacksonian, the National Museum of African American History and Culture in DC.
Blacksonian, okay.
Blacksonian. And what a wonderful way to open up Black History Month, especially as we're seeing our history being under assault, between the book bans and the saying that they cannot teach Black history in schools, and the striking down of funding. We just saw the Black Lives Matter, plaza being destroyed in Washington, D.C. That's a whole other conversation, but we're seeing these things. We're seeing these assaults on our very being and on our history. So it's important that we keep that first and foremost. So I urge everyone to go to the Museum of Natural History well, I call it the Blacksonian, the Museum of Natural.
The Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. I can't even remember the name of it, but folks, it is the African American Smithsonian in D.C. And it's a big, beautiful building with multiple floors that really detail the history of Black people in America. And it is a must see, and it's a must visit on more than one occasion because there's so much information there. And you should not assume that you know. We know pockets of things, but the great thing is there's so much about us that there's more and more to learn. I want to go back to something you said a moment ago, Bevy, that you have never fallen. You said I've never fallen, but you also shared that, and you talk about this a lot, that from 40 to 45, you were broke. So what does falling mean to you? Because I think people will go, well, if you were broke, didn't that feel like falling? What is the difference?
Well, in my book, Bevelations, Lessons from My Mother, Auntie, Bestie, one of my favorite chapters is Broke but Blissful. And that chapter details that journey of being broke from 40 to 45. The reason why I say I've never fallen is because I always had a roof over my head and I always had food to eat. So, I think a lot of times, Harriette, and you got to remember, I had already experienced great success. I had already made great money. I quit a job that was paying me $350,000. And then I think probably at the height of my brokenness, maybe I was bringing in $35,000.
Right.
We're talking about, I go from
real change.
Real change. But when I tell you I was so happy in that space, now, of course, I missed having money. I had to sell a lot of stuff. One of the great things about being in fashion is that we amass a lot of things.
Yes, indeed.
So I sold a lot of Vuitton. I sold a lot of Goyard. I sold a lot of Dior. I sold Cartier. I sold Tiffany's. I sold a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, Harriette, is stuff. Who cares? What I cared about was having my freedom. What I cared about was giving myself an opportunity to pursue my dreams and my goals and my passions. So I could either be really comfortable and keep that job at $350,000 a year, be in misery, because I was in my TED Talk, I talk about the B word Bevy, and I'm not talking about the other Bevy. I'm talking about the one that rhymes with witchy. Right. And I talk about that persona that I had taken on in that business for a myriad of reasons, but a lot of it was out of unhappiness. I didn't love what I was doing anymore. The thrill had gone and I was still holding on. And it was when I woke up and decided to change my life and really did do a full-on upheaval of my life, which many people criticized me for, many people questioned, many people didn't understand. Well, why don't you just go back and get a job, Beverly? You in housing court, girl. Go back and get a job. And I said, well, no, because I'm doing everything that I set out to do. I quit my job to do TV, to write, to to pursue all these different creative avenues. And I was doing it all, Harriette, but I was just broke.
Right. And that happens sometimes.
Yes. But I saw it as a win, Harriette. I didn't see it as a loss. I was like, I'm not making any money, but boy, oh boy, look at you, Bevy, doing all these things you once dreamed of doing. So I felt good about it.
And it's planting the seed. You know, I've said to people so many times, if your heart tells you you must do something, sometimes you do it for free. Sometimes you volunteer. And I tell people all the time, volunteer as if you're making $1 million and one day maybe you will.
Yeah.
And putting yourself into it then creates the space for it to blossom, which is exactly what happened for you.
Yeah.
So this notion of it gets greater later, which I love it. It's catchy. It's an uplifting way of acknowledging as we age and that there's beauty in aging. When did that come to you? You know, how did that happen?
Well, it happened because I was hanging out with my girlfriends and we were watching an HBO show that was about sex workers. Okay. And one of the sex workers said to the other one that she liked to come out late at night because it gets greater later. And my girlfriends and I just laughed. And that was like a couple of years prior to me even taking it on as a mantra. And then when I was going through my struggles, because we would always say it to each other it's a running joke. And I said, wow, it really does get greater later. And then I took it on as a positive mantra. You know how Black folks do. Mm-hmm. We always gonna take something, we're gonna reverse it, right? We flip it and we reverse it. So it went from something that was about nightlife and it became this positivity mantra that's now being said by people like Cheryl Lee Ralph and Hoda Kotb and my friend Sherry Shepherd and Tamron Hall and all my sisters on television have been talking about it and also crediting me, which is an amazing thing because I also trademarked it, Harriette, because let me tell you something, and this is to all the listeners out there as well. If you come up with something catchy, trademark it.
Trademark it before you start saying it too much, because if it's a really good idea, folks can steal that idea. That's really smart. But you know what I love is, as you mentioned, people in the public eye, and we live in a culture where people in the public eye make a big difference for folks. Transitions like Hoda Kotb, like an amazing journalist, been in the game for a very long time. And, you know, if you know anything about the behind the scenes, what happens every political season at these networks, there's upheaval and folks get pushed out and the money changes and da. And, you know, the going information is that she was one of those people who got pushed because they were trying to save money. I love her grace in just, okay, my life is fantastic.
Yeah.
This has been a really great run. And who knows what later is going to bring for me. Yeah. Same with Joy Reid. Her attitude, like I have a great life. I had an opportunity to talk to all these amazing people and bring their voices to a national and international stage. And who knows what's next. That attitude is so important for health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can't fight every single battle. You know, sometimes you have to let things be. You know, you have to have faith. You have to understand that everything is as it should be. So why am I going to struggle? Instead, I always say, I like to take a bow. Mm. Thank you. Good night and God bless. And I can go on somewhere else. And when you do that, all of a sudden, you're not so stressed anymore. Because the stress is when you're trying to hold on to something that doesn't want you. The stress is when you're trying to hold on to something that you no longer want and just haven't realized it just yet. And that was something that I was doing when I had that big fancy job at Rolling Stone magazine, the only Black person in management, the only woman in the sales team. I didn't want that work. Why hold on to it? Let it go. Go and pursue something else. And, you know, that's what Joy M. Reid is doing. And that's what Hoda Kotb is doing.
And that's so many others, yeah.
And that's what a bunch of your viewers are going to be doing as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, It's part of life. It is. Hey guys, this is Dreamleapers. We're talking to Bevy Smith, who has the mantra, it gets greater later, which by the way, she trademarked. She's telling us trademark those good ideas. But I'm so happy to be talking with Bevy. Bevy, you know, one of the things that you have talked about a lot this year, and I appreciate how much you're always talking to your community and you are transparent.
Yeah.
And so there are a number of things, but I will start with one. You talk about fitness and taking care of your body. And I know for me, I think about it all the time, but this year, for this year, well, 24 leading into 25, I was successful in a way that I hadn't been in a long time. I've lost about 25 pounds. It wasn't working before.
Yeah.
And I made up my mind. You know, I realized, okay, there's something I can control in this life of mine. This is something that I should be able to control. And then I've watched you talk about your journey and hunkering down and what has worked for you. And I'd love for you to share that.
Yeah, you know, so Harriette, as you know, I was my mom's caregiver for the last year and a half of her life. And it was such an honor and a blessing to be able to do that for my mom. And God is so good. My Lolly. Yeah, my Lolly. And God is so good because in that year and a half of my mom living with me, I wasn't as busy as I had been. But guess what that means? I love her for my mama so much. I get to make her breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
that's a gift.
People, yeah, it's a gift. So for a lot of people, that would have been like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But
right.
Everything is as it should be. And if you have faith, then you don't just have faith when things are going well. You have faith during all the times, even the more arduous times. So I get to take care of my mother. So one of the things that taking care of my mother gave me was the time with her, but also having to be intimate with my mom in a way that I hadn't been since I was a little girl, as in bathing her, seeing my mom naked. Now I'm going to just tell you guys this. My mother was in immaculate shape. When I tell you my mama had a shape on her, she passed away at 96. When I tell you my Lolly girl had a shape, that lady was hourglass. And I would tease her. My mom couldn't speak, but she had her full mental, faculties. I would tease. I say, "Mommy, you got a shape on you," and she would just laugh. And I say, "You know, I really want to take a picture of you, but if someone found that, that'd be like elder abuse. So I'm not going to do it. But baby, you got a shape on you." So that was one of the things. So when my mom was up and running, she used to always say, I would be going to the gym. She'd be like, "You should just let me train you, Beverly. I can train you. You see how good shape I'm in. I can train you." And I'd be like, "Oh, Mom, please." So when she passed away, I remember feeling like, wow, Lolly wanted me to be in the best physical shape that I could possibly be. So I'm going to honor my mother by doing that. So my mom, but I thought about that, and I didn't really go full tilt boogie until November of 2024, where I did my kickstart. I went to Miraval, which is a beautiful resort in Arizona, and you only wear two types of clothes there. You wear a robe because you're always in the spa, and you wear exercise clothes because you're always exercising. So at Miraval, I worked out 3 times a day, and I also did hikes daily. It was amazing. And then I would do all my spa treatments. It was amazing, but that was a great kickstart. I also started lessening my drinking in that moment. When I got home, I engaged a trainer. I started going to my Equinox gym and going 3 to 4 times a week. And then just recently in December, I engaged a nutritionist and started working with Weight Watchers. So I have a lot of tools to help me. And I've also stopped drinking. So again, another tool to help me. So these are the things that I've been doing. So I want to just be really clear with your audience. I am not in this about a dress size. I'm not in this about vanity. I swear to you, I'm not. Because I already look nice. I love
you.
Okay. Thank you. But I don't like my
it's health. It's health. It's health.
Let me and even more than health, because you can be a bigger person and be healthy. So I'm not even going, it's health, but you know what it is for me?
What's
It's
that?
the physicality, it's the athleticism, it's the agility, it's the flexibility that I want. That is what I'm craving. So the things that I'm doing, my goals are Mount Kilimanjaro at 60.
Ooh.
I'm taking up aerial yoga. I'm doing a 5K at the end of the year.
All right.
You know what I mean? So these are the things that I'm working towards. I travel a lot. So now I'm going to be traveling with an eye towards adventure travel.
Great. That's exciting.
Travel all over the world. I've been to every continent except Antarctica. So now I'm going to be revisiting places, but I'm going to be revisiting them as physical Bevy versus luxury. It's going to be luxury Bevy, but it's going to be physical and
you can have luxury Bevy with a little physical Bevy on the side.
There you go. Or the other way around.
Right. Or the other way around. That's exciting. And I'm glad to hear the how. I was talking to my sister's sons yesterday, and they're in their mid to late 20s. And my nephew's girlfriend, and they were talking about, instead of feeling like I have to go to the gym, I want to do fun exercise. So they've started skiing and snowboarding and, doing other things that can be an adventure, can be fun. Doesn't feel like, well, I have to do this, but yet actually, when they were talking about this snowboarding that they just did, they burn way more calories than they would have burned if they had gone to the gym.
Yeah. So another one of my mandates is that I go dancing every week.
Oh,
I take my Zumba, but I also literally go out dancing.
What kind of places are you going to?
Well, you know what, you'd be surprised. There's dance parties all over the place, but you just have to actually say that you want to go dancing. But my brother is a big house music disco person. Okay. There's every week there's something like that going on in the city. Club Quarantine is coming up with D Nice. Yeah. I'm going to that. There's all these amazing parties that go on every single week in New York. You can go dance, or if someone's having a birthday party in the Saturday Lounge, I'm there because I'm going to be up dancing.
It's so funny you say that, Bevy. My friend Sharon this morning said to me, "Have you been dancing, Harriette?" Because that is something that family legacy. My parents used to get on the dance floor at every event in their black tie and dance the whole night. My husband and I love to dance, and we haven't really been dancing. So this is a good reminder. She said to me today, "Have you been dancing?" So I'm going to tell her, Bevy said it's time to go dancing.
Dancing. And it's really wonderful. And like you said about your nephews, it burns so many more calories and you're joyful while doing it. I told my trainer, I said, once I get to my magic number, I said, you won't be seeing me anymore. And she said, why not? I said, because I'm going to be out in the world burning my calories. I need her to jump start.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's going to be all in the world. It's going to be doing, like I said, the aerial yoga. It's going to be swimming. It's going to be doing things that bring you joy. And it's not like just in the gym. Because I don't know if that's a lifestyle that you can really sustain. Some people can.
Some people do, but if you can do it more joyfully, why not?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you stopped drinking. So for a lot of people, that's a really hard thing to do. And was it just you made up your mind? Like, how did you come to that decision, and how challenging has it been?
So I had said in November that I was going to lessen drinking. As you know, Harriette, I'm out 3 to 4, 4 to 5 times a week between work and social obligations. And a lot of my work is pleasure.
Yep.
And it always comes with a cocktail. I'm very blessed in that way. I get to do work that I thoroughly enjoy, that feels like play for most, but I'm getting a check for it. God is good. Yes. So if I'm going out like that, I'm having 2 to 3 drinks and thinking nothing of it. But at the end of the week, that tallies up. That's a lot of cocktails.
Yes.
I started seeing all the articles about how alcohol is bad for you. And it's like for women, especially the uterine cancer, the breast cancer, dementia, all the things. But they never said don't drink. They said moderation. So I took it as moderation. So when I went to Miraval, they had you write a letter at the end of your trip, and then they mailed it to you 3 months later. And in my letter, I said, you will find me 3 months later having one drink at 1 to 2 drinks at most when I'm out socially. I got the letter in February. I've not had any drinks when I go out. None. I just did Mardi Gras. I had no drinks.
Good for you.
That was my big test.
Good
I
for
was
you.
like, if I can go through Mardi Gras and not cocktail. Also, I was in LA for Black Women in Hollywood, all the big Oscar events, all the cocktails. And I'm actually someone who enjoys alcohol. I love a cocktail. I love cocktail culture, all of it. I still want to own a bar. Literally, I still want to own a bar. But I'm just not drinking. And I will tell you this, it's not been, surprisingly enough, it's not been difficult. But I'm also a Scorpio. So we're like very much all or nothing.
Right. And you made up your mind. This is the thing, I think, that what I hear. Well, you there's all the research, but people see research all the time. You made up your mind. Once you make up your mind, people don't realize how powerful they are.
Yeah.
You know, we sometimes feel, oh, I'm not strong enough to do this or that. Actually, you are.
Yeah.
We are strong enough to do anything if we connect with the spirit. And I agree with you. You have to have faith and connect to God so that you are not alone. We're never alone if we understand our faith.
Yeah.
If we have faith and really honor that.
Yes, and honor that, right? Into action, right?
Yes. And then you can do anything. So I'm so glad that you were talking about this so openly, Bevy, because a lot of people struggle with whatever it is, addiction, fear, you know, whatever those contractions are.
But Harriette, you know what? I was really very fortunate because I'm not a person who needs alcohol to be social. And that's a real thing. So I don't want to take that
is, right.
One. There's so many people that have social phobias. They have anxiety. They can't go into rooms. They need a little liquid courage. So to everyone who's out there who feels like that, just because I don't have that, I'm like, naturally, I know how to go into rooms and like do the things.
Yeah.
But we understand that there are some people that do feel like they need a little drink to settle them down. They need something to hold in their hand so they're not looking, whatever it is. We get it. It's the same thing about food too. Same thing about food. That's the reason why, honestly, I think it's awesome that there's all these injectables that you can take with a doctor to get you back on track, you know, from the Monjovis to the Ozempic, all the things. I don't knock anyone from doing it. Right now, I'm just doing it on my own. But I will tell you this. If I hit a plateau and I needed it, and I felt like my journey, I had done the most I could on my own, on my journey, I would definitely do it.
Understood. You know, I think many of these things with tremendous care. You know, I knowing there are always side effects to anything. And I do know that some people have had some major gastro side effects that are difficult. But guess what? You have to weigh what is more important. What do you need? How do you pay attention to it? I agree with you that it takes different things to get people to their goal. And we live in a culture, a medical culture, that is constantly researching things in order to help us get there. Let me remind folks, this is Dreamleapers with Harriette Cole. We are talking with Bevy Smith. We're having real talk with Bevy Smith, and I hope you are listening closely. One of the things that I love about Bevy is that she always keeps it real. She always tells the truth. And a lot of times people in the public eye have a veneer, so to speak. And so you don't know whether you can believe them. And look, I've known Bevy for a long time, and she has always told the truth, you know, with dazzle. So I love that too. Now, I want to tell you, Bevy, and it's fortuitous that we are talking together at this moment. So this is a very emotional time for me. My mother, who is 95, today we put her in hospice.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, she's 95, and you know, the decision, it's where she lives, so it's not sending her anywhere, but the decision was made to provide comfort because the things that are happening to her are not reversible.
Yeah.
And of course it's hard. And yet, like, so she lives in a facility. She needed to be there, but we're there all the time. And I think about you and your mother. I think about you and your mother. Like the last time I remember being in close proximity with her was a few years ago when you received an award from Harlem's Fashion Row. And there was Miss Lally, just proud as she could be. And with that full personality. And that's my mother. My mother is light.
Yeah.
And all of the people in the place are like, well, how is Doris? Is she coming back downstairs to play bingo? We don't know. But I wanted to talk to you about that time when your mother was transitioning, and you started talking about it a little bit, but I would love for you to share with me your wisdom for me and my family, as well as for others who are living with transitioning parents.
First off, I have to say, I know how tough this time is for you. But I also want to say you guys are doing, in my opinion, the right thing. Because when they are ready to go, they let you know. I woke my mother up on her 96th birthday, January 8th, 2024. I said, Lolly, you're 96. Can you believe it? And she said, I said, Lolly, this is a big deal. You're 96. And she said, And she was grumpy the entire day. My mom was always love and light.
Right.
Grumpy the entire day. I'm going to tell you, she stopped eating. My mother stopped eating. She'd already told us when she was up and running that she did not want to be 100. She had also told us she did not want to be in a space where she was incapacitated and she could not take care of herself. She did not want to be a burden to her children.
Right.
I believe that year and a half that we had with my mother after her 2 strokes, where she could neither walk or talk, I think that she gave us that year and a half to prepare us for the goodbye. She knew that we could not handle, because my mother was so spirited and she lived by herself after my dad passed away. So my mother was too, for all of a sudden her to go away, for her to like just die. We would have been adrift if that had happened. To the end, my mother was a mother, and she took care of her children, and she knew what we needed. But she also knew that she had given us a year and a half. We knew that we had come together as a family, that we had loved up on her, that we had had so many great monumental moments with my mother in the last year and a half of her life. And so I believe that she was like, I then gave them what they needed. Now I'm going to go ahead and take what I need. I need a rest. So that's what I have to say to you. It's a beautiful thing that you as a family have decided to put your mother in hospice. It's a beautiful thing that you guys will continue to be there for her. To
right there.
Her in, to let her take you in. That's a blessing.
It's so amazing. And Bevy, so her mother, for whom my daughter's named Carrie, my grandmother, her mother lived to be 101.
Wow.
She danced at her 100th birthday party. So my mother, she's 95, and she's like, I don't think I'm going to make it to as long as my mother lived. And we're like, girl, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You have had the best life. My mother was a kindergarten teacher. And now context, 95, that's how old she is. There are people who she taught kindergarten who still see her and call her and say, Miss Cole, I'm so happy you were my teacher. That is who
like
this
70-year-old people.
Love and light. And so while, as you know, this is a truly difficult time, everybody who knows her, it's just, you step into her light. And it is a beautiful experience. And I thank you for sharing. You've talked a lot about your mom. And for those of us who are blessed to have our parents in their elder years, it doesn't matter how old they are. When they're about to leave the planet, it's still difficult.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm a little old orphan. You know what I mean? Like what? I mean, it does make a difference in my life.
Sure.
Being an old orphan, it does make a difference in my life, and it's very weird. Especially being a single woman. and being an orphan. It's like, wow. I will tell you this because my mother taught me to be an optimist at all times. So yes, while it is like, oh wow, I'm kind of like alone in the world, but I'm not. I have amazing family, but just that my parents were I cleave to them and they cleave to me. So it's a little different. But what my mom's passing has also done is it frees me up in the world. I don't have no child to worry about no more.
Well, that's interesting.
However I like it to be. Whatever it is that I desire, that's the only thing that matters. I have to worry about me and me alone. And it's a really wonderful space in which to live in, where you have I can live wherever I want, Harriette. Yes. I remember when I was up for this job in LA, a TV show, and I had gotten to the wire, and they were like, well, you would need to move here. And I said, well, I can't because I have elderly parents, so I'll have to commute every week. And they were like, that's not feasible. And I said, well, Joan Rivers does it. She commutes every week.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, I can do it. But I had to think about those kind of things. I couldn't just up and move somewhere. Now I can.
And you know what? Again, I'm so grateful for you sharing your attitude about this, because there are other people, when the time comes and they lose their parents, they feel lost and broken. And that would mean, to me, in part, and I'm not saying this to pass judgment, so I want to be very clear for anybody who's feeling that, but like your parents' job is to make sure you're independent. Yeah. And I have a child. I have a 21-year-old girlfriend is independent. She's in Paris this semester, living her best life.
Right.
And as she should be.
Living the way the original Carrie would want her to be. Living the way Doris taught you to teach her.
Exactly. And taking it to the next level. Mm-hmm. And so for those who are unable to heal when their parents leave them, for me, I think that's a great time for therapy. What do you need to do in order to heal your spirit and your being so that you can fulfill whatever that legacy dream, not just yours, but your family dream? Mm-hmm. So important.
Yes, it is. It's really important. And it's about, like you said, taking that time. Therapy is definitely useful. When my dad passed away, he died of COVID early on in April of
2020.
Yeah, of 2020. So I needed therapy immediately. I was locked in the house by myself. I was like, oh, I need therapy. So yeah, these things.
But also you understood that, Bevy, that, your level of awareness. So I really hope people are paying attention, because this conversation is happening with people who are aware. Yeah. Somebody listening may feel, oh, I never thought of that. That's okay. So that's why I have this show. So I bring people on who are living their dreams, who are living through whatever their challenges are, so folks can hear and go, okay, that's another way to think about this. And so that's why I so appreciate your saying that, because there are people, therapy, I never even thought I could do that, or I certainly couldn't do it during COVID. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yeah. So go ahead. Yes, absolutely. So, Bevy, what's now? Because we just finished enjoying you on Harlem.
Yeah.
And I know that there are lots of things in the mix, including, so one thing you've been doing for a long time, but having a lot of fun with, is your dinners with Bevy.
Yeah.
What's happening with that?
Well, Dinner with Bevy is something that I created because I was broke. So I took what was in my hands. I have relationships in fashion. I have relationships in the music industry. And I said, there's only one person that could bring luxury fashion brands and all the major fashion magazine editors to meet urban music artists. And that's how it started 17 years ago. And it was supposed to be a stopgap measure, Harriette Cole. And now it's gone on to become something that I do for the National Council of Negro Women, something I do for Planned Parenthood, something I do for BET, something I do for Netflix, all these different entities. So that's going like gangbusters. I don't do a lot of them because, one, I don't pitch. So just to have that moment really quickly, because I know we don't have a lot of time, I want to say to your audience, I'm in a space in my life where I don't pursue things. I don't pitch. I do my good work and I let the people come to me. I do my good work. I have a publicist. She amplifies my good work.
Mm-hmm.
I do my good work. I put it on social media. That amplifies my good work. And then my phone rings and people give me money. That's the space I'm in. So I don't pitch dinner. People call me up all the time. I want to do a dinner with Bevy. Do you have a deck? I don't. I don't have one. You either have to want to do it or you don't. I don't know what to tell you, but it's okay if you don't want to do it because it's fine. So that's what's going on with Dinner with Bevy. But the audience, the folks that love me and follow me have always wanted me to do something. They all want to come to a Dinner with Bevy. Dinner with Bevy is really for notables and celebrities. So, and the client really dictates who gets to come. So the client is not going to want a wonderful wife and mother who's got a middle management job in the room. That's just the way it is. They don't want that. But I have created Dining with Bevy, Life with Vision, something that I started doing, and like probably I've been doing this for about 10 years. About 10 years. Dining with Bevy, Life with Vision. It's open to the public. And Harriette, you'll get a kick out of this. You cannot attend unless you've been accepted. And the way you are accepted is by answering 3 questions. Who are you at your core? How are you being perceived? How would you like to be perceived? In my book, that's called The Red Soul Proposition. And I created these questions because they led me to becoming the brand that I am today. See, I had to understand who I was at my core. Because if you understand who you are, not the wife, mother, boss, babe titles that we give ourselves, but really who are you? Who are you at night? Who were you before the world told you need to be X, Y, and Z? We have to get back to the inner child. Because the inner child is a great compass, the best compass. These things we put on, baby, these are like costumes that we put on. But that core of who you are, that little spirit, little Harriette Cole, who she was, oh, baby, that's where the gold is. So,
and how hard is it, Bevy, for people to answer that question?
Baby. So, I send back the questions all the time. I'm like, thank you so much for your interest, but you're going to have to go a little deeper, because if you don't go deep, then that means you're not ready to come into the room. And that's fine if you're not ready to come into the room, but I'm not going to take your money and have you come up in the room and not get anything out of it, because you have to do the work. You mentioned being self-aware. Self-awareness is so key. That who you are at your core is very hard for people to answer, but the one that always stops people in their track, how are you being perceived? Folks take umbrage at that. They say, well, I don't care about what people think about me, blah, blah, blah. And I always stop them and I say, I get it. We shouldn't care about old random people, what they think about us. But I'm sure there's some blind spots that we have that people that we love and respect have mentioned to us.
That's true.
People have called us on our stuff. Either we take it and we try and like make adjustments, or we just push it to the side and keep going and say they just jealous, or they're like, but I want you to take what the people that love you and know you best, when they say that there's a blind spot that you have, I want you to take that in and understand that that's how you're being perceived. And that perception, that negative perception, is probably keeping you from your truest destiny. How would you like to be perceived?
That's powerful. Absolutely. And, I do a lot of work with people, as you know, helping them to stand in their power and really understand, who am I and where am I supposed to be going in life? And being in alignment with who you say you are and what people say about you is very important. And so I'm completely with you on this point, Bevy, because so many people say, well, if you ask them, well, what do your friends say about you? What does your spouse say? What do people say if they are describing you to somebody else? Just listen and pay attention and see. So often it's not what you want it to be. So often it's different. And then another thing that happens is often too, when people do say what it is and celebrate you and honor you, you don't know how to accept the compliment.
You won't believe it. Yep.
You're like, oh no. But isn't that what you want it to be? So say thank you.
Yeah.
keep the circle going. Don't reject people for telling you that they see exactly what you said you are. Come on.
Yeah.
Hey guys, this is Dreamleapers with Harriette Cole. We are almost at the end, but we got Bevy Smith with us, and we are soaking in every second of this conversation, which I think is so incredibly important. Bevy, something I'm doing coming up at the end of this month, I did a 100-day plan last year, and as a result of doing it and taking it seriously, I got a book deal.
Congratulations.
And I hadn't had a book deal for like 15 years. Even though I've written a bunch of books, I hadn't had one recently. And it's just the power of intention. So I'm offering a 3-part course, live interactive course for folks who want to do this, the 100-day plan. So they could go to my website, harrietcole.com, to find out about it. But I'm thinking about it in this conversation because, first of all, community, what we talked about in the beginning, creating community and supporting each other, that's what we do.
Yeah.
When we do this, people can benefit. I benefited from that a year ago and was like, oh, okay. If I dare to put that dream out there, then what can happen? So what is Bevy's dare to dream? Because I know you're always leaping.
Yeah.
What's next?
You know what? It's so weird. So, I did a TED Talk that was very, very popular.
I know. 7 million views by now, right?
Over.
Wow. See? Come on.
Translated into multiple languages. But here's the thing. I never put doing a TED Talk on my vision board because I always knew I would do a TED Talk.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times for me, I don't even have a big dream per se. Because to me, dreams are the things that you can barely even fathom. So I'm going to do Broadway. That's something I want to do, and I will do it. I will do it. So I know that to be so. I know that it gets greater later. It's going to be a book. I know that to be so. So I know it will be a TV show. I know it to be so. So right now, I'm living in this space where I'm letting God do his good work on me. I'm doing the good work on myself, and then I'm going to let God take the lead. And God is going to guide me exactly where he wants me to be. I know that to be so. I have to do my part.
Yes.
That's the important thing for people to know. You have to do your part. You can't just sit around and wish on a star. But I'm going to be doing my good work. That's why I'm getting into my best physical shape. That's the reason why I'm reading my good books. That's even why I'm doing Dining with Bevy Life Vision, because God has called me to do that work. Mm-hmm. That work does not pay me the way I get paid for all my other projects.
Right.
But God told me to do Dining with Bevy Life Vision on March 29th. That will be in Manhattan. You're all invited to come. You have to apply. But I know these things. So I listen to what God wants me to do. And then I go forth and I do my good work. And then I wait for him to unfurl the plan, which he always does.
That's beautiful. I learned a spiritual concept, that the bird has 2 wings, self-effort and grace. You put forth the effort, God's grace is right there. But when you put forth the effort, then the bird can fly.
Yes.
And it's such a beautiful thing when you realize that this partnership that you can have with the divine and all of the amazing things that come with it. I see that partnership in your life, in your work, in your goodness. I see Lolly in you. And I just thank you for coming and sharing your love and light with my community, and can't wait to see all the great things that are to come. Thank you, Bevy.
Thank you, Harriette Cole. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you for tuning in. I hope your cup feels full just like mine does. Bevy Smith is a joy, a very, very special human being. And I'm glad that we got to have fellowship with her today. Until next time, have a great day and make it count.